We have with us Ambassador T.S. Tirumurthy, India's permanent representative to the United Nations, as India will be starting its 2-year tenure as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council from January. Many thanks, sir, for speaking with us. First of all, do highlight the priorities of India as it becomes a non-permanent member from January.
Thank you, Maha, for having me in your program. Firstly, let me wish you and all your viewers a very happy new year. This year is important for us since, as you said, we will be starting our 2-year tenure in the Security Council. We will certainly seek to put our stamp on the Security Council as the world's largest democracy, speaking out in support of peace, security, reform, and development, and against the common enemies of humanity like terrorism. We will reiterate and reinforce our commitment to democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. We will seek to strengthen multilateralism through reform and a more inclusive approach, given the current fissures in the Security Council. India will also, as always, continue to serve as a very powerful voice for the developing world, including Africa. Maritime security, peacekeeping, and strengthening peace building, especially the role of women and children, will be very high on our agenda. And with the experience of COVID, we will accelerate the use of technology for human welfare. These are broadly what we would be looking at during our tenure.
Ambassador Tirumurthy, India has been pushing for reforms at the United Nations. How will India take this forward now with a direct voice in the Security Council? And why is reform essential for the UN?
Well, I would like to put things in perspective for the benefit of your viewers. See, when the Security Council first met in January 1946, there were 51 members in the UN. Today, there are 193. And the world has changed significantly in these 75 years. What is especially striking is that multilateralism has not kept pace with multipolarity, which you see today. The UN, unfortunately, is still stuck in 1945. That's why other plurilateral groupings like G20, for example, are gaining ground, since they are able to reflect better this multipolarity. So the writing on the wall is clear. India is looking at reformed multilateralism, not a return to the status quo of multilateralism if the world has to move ahead in an inclusive manner. The leaders of the world came together in 2005 and called for an early reform of the Security Council. 15 years have passed since, but there has been zero progress. However, let me add that the reform process will be done initially largely outside the Security Council in the General Assembly.
Okay. Sir, is the initial global response to the COVID-19 pandemic an evidence before us that multilateral organizations were not geared up for shocks such as a healthcare crisis? Should this be assessed in time as a sort of failure of multilateral organizations?
You know, there is no doubt that the UN and its organizations were slow to react to the pandemic. In fact, in many ways, India was far ahead of the curve on this issue than even some of the UN bodies. We had taken immediate measures at home, and despite the challenges at home, we reached out to more than 150 countries to provide assistance by way of medicines, protective equipment, etc. Plurilateral bodies like the G20 were more responsive to tackling the fallout of COVID. In all fairness, COVID was unprecedented. But I think the United Nations and the Security Council were probably paralyzed by differences between its members who were unable to immediately come together in solidarity and focus on the priority issues. In fact, some even took advantage of COVID, some member states, to pursue aggressive policies and enhance support to terrorism like Pakistan has done. Divisions and fault lines on religious lines have also gotten aggravated. However, the UN organizations did start getting their act together, finally, even if they were the last off the block. But the crisis has laid bare the fact that the multilateral organizations that do not reflect contemporary realities are less effective in responding to a global crisis. The only way to make multilateralism attractive again is to ensure that it serves the interest of all countries, big or small.
So, Ambassador Tirumurthy, where is India's quest for a permanent seat in the United Nations Security Council? What is the biggest hurdle? Is India expecting continued denial of its rightful position from a P5 country, China? How does India plan to overcome that?
See, on the reform front, let me say that an overwhelming majority of UN member states, they firmly support the demand for Security Council reforms. An expansion of the Security Council in both the permanent and the non-permanent categories is indispensable to make this body more representative, legitimate, and effective. The biggest hurdle to reform is the attitude of the status quoists, if I can use the word, a handful of them who have used the so-called intergovernmental negotiating process, which has neither rules nor a text, as a smokescreen to block change. However, we are convinced that procrastination is no more an option, and immediate and time-bound text-based negotiations are critical. And that's what we have called for, and we will continue to pursue. We will be working with like-minded partners and look at options to overcome these obstacles.
On the issue of counter-terrorism, Ambassador Tirumurthy, how is India going to take this issue up specifically during its tenure?
See, counterterrorism is certainly a top priority, not only for India, but for all terrorism-affected UN member states. As one of the biggest victims of terrorism, especially cross-border terrorism, we are determined to combat terrorism with zero tolerance. We will not accept any dilution of this concept. We will not accept any artificial labels or justifications being given for terror, which some countries are actually doing their best to justify. We are ready to stand shoulder to shoulder with any country inside the Security Council or outside who are willing to advance this agenda. Of course, there are countries which are the biggest exporters of terror, like Pakistan, but portray themselves as a victim and even give a religious color to terror and terrorists. See, we don't want to go back to the pre-9/11 days, where the world was split into your terrorists and my terrorists. The world needs to guard against such attempts to skew the narrative.
Certainly. Now, Ambassador Tirumurthy, this will be India's 8th stint as a non-permanent UNSC member. How do you expect this to be different from the ones in the past in terms of the clout that India now has?
Maha, if you go back and look at each of our previous 7 tenures, you will find that India has always brought value to the Security Council in its core mandate of maintaining international peace and security. The first ever tenure of India came when we had just become a republic, and we played a very active and constructive role in the Korean War. Subsequently, we have raised our voice against aggression and injustice. We have spoken for freedom and independence of African countries, and we opposed apartheid. We were actively involved in resolution of conflicts in the Middle East. This time, we are entering a council which is divided and facing potential paralysis in decision making and accosting challenges which have increased exponentially, both in complexity and intractability, and also a COVID which is raging outside, especially threatening the developing world and the small island states. So we need to navigate these fault lines and use, if I may use the phrase, the Indian way to see how best to resolve them.
All right. Ambassador Tirumurthy, many thanks for speaking with CNN News 18, and wish you all the best as you take India's voice forward there at the United Nations Security Council over the next 2 years.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me on your program.